everybody. I want to welcome you. I, Sejohn, want to welcome you to this week's Say Report. Me and me alone. For I am the king, and it's good to be the king. It is so good to be the king. And I am not by myself, because a king is nothing without his subjects. Devon, are you here?
Hi, I'm your co-host, Devon Decker. Welcome to the Siege Report with my liege, Sejohn Sarawik.
Now. We know we don't call them co-hosts. They're host companions in this kingdom.
Yes.
It's okay. You'll learn.
Basic grammar in order to placate the desires of the plebes to overthrow those in power. However, we attempted to overthrow those in power and got 6 of the 24 categories for the Oscars correct. That's a quarter.
I got 9. Oh, man.
Oh, congratulations, Sejohn.
Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome after it's been a week for movies.
It has been a week for movies. You know what I saw? I saw Early Man.
Yeah, all right.
I know you didn't, and unfortunately
No.
you probably won't get a chance to,
No.
because that came and went. But let me tell you, I didn't do the research because it's still the Say Report. We're not going to suddenly change overnight. But I bet that hasn't come out in England yet. I bet they're going to wait and release it alongside the World Cup this year.
I mean, that would make sense, but I don't know, man, because first of all, they love them soccers. They love them soccers any time of years. They don't need to wait for the World Cup.
Right, but I can definitely understand why it came out in February in America.
Yeah, no, in America, yes, for sure. Well, for a ton of reasons. I mean, did you see did you see the Pirates what was the full name of that one?
The Dead
last
Man's
one,
Chest?
Yes. That great
Is that what
Aardman
we're
stop
talking
motion
about?
movie,
Oh,
Pirates the Dead.
no. Just Pirates.
It is just Pirates? I keep
believe
wanting to
it's just
put a bigger name on
Pirates.
it, like the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, but that's the
VeggieTales.
VeggieTales.
Yes,
Yeah.
starring Johnny Depp as Larry the Cucumber.
Oh God.
Orlando Bloom as the tomato. I don't know the
And
tomato.
Jeffrey Rush, just as Jeffrey Rush.
No, it's Paul Grape. I know Paul Grape's name, all right? Let me have that one. It's Steve Coogan who just plays Steve Coogan, and that's not even the Steven that's in it. It's the guy from Coupling. Who plays the guy in Coupling? Steve, not Merchant.
No.
There's too many famous British Stevens.
Oh my God. We but where were we going with this? Pirates Who Don't Do Anything.
Oh, we're talking about
VeggieTales?
Aardman.
Oh, right,
We're talking
claymation
about Aardman.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say that anything that's not like Wallace and Gromit for them over here just doesn't seem to ring with everybody. Or Shaun the Sheep, I should say. Shaun the Sheep.
Yeah, that was gonna say because Shaun the Sheep. Yes, it was released in August, but like it ended up getting the nomination for Best Animated Feature, and they're making a
with that
sequel. That's the best part.
Shaun the Sheep and Gromit, Wallace and Gromit are definitely their big claims to fame, I think, over here at least. So they've tried to do other things. Remember, they're also the guys that tried to jump in with DreamWorks really early on with Fleshed Away. Remember?
And Chicken Run. Don't forget Chicken Run.
Yeah,
with
Chicken
Mel
Run. Chicken
Gibson.
Run was hot for a second. It's real weird playing. He's like the American surrounded by all of the British. It's basically what women want with chickens. That's what Chicken Run is.
It's also The Great Escape. If The Great Escape met what women want in a bar, and what women want clearly went home with The Great Escape, because come on, it's Steve fucking McQueen. Chicken Run is their weird baby.
Their weird claymation baby. Thrust. It's all about thrust.
You know what is creepy about Chicken Run? I don't know. What are we doing here? I just gotta.
No,
I feel like
we're gonna talk about some Aardman stuff.
I'm
for a minute,
outside
apparently.
of my
Let's
body
do this.
right now.
Let's talk about some claymation Mel Gibson's being cocky.
Okay, that fucking chicken pot pie maker.
Mm-hmm.
That there's like 30 chickens at that farm.
Yeah,
They're gonna
I know.
make 30 pies. And then,
Yeah, man, but they're so good. At like $40 a pie, she's looking at $1,200 there. I mean,
yeah, but
come on.
it's not sustainable. Like they don't have like a second group of chickens.
Well, especially because she has to pay to make that robot dog. Because isn't that the reveal that dog is like? Am I confusing that with another?
Nope, that dog is definitely a robot. But I think that
Yeah.
he's in charge.
Oh, that's right. We got to get the weird idea that maybe he was the one running the show the whole time. Yeah, I forget that weird reveal at the end of that. The third act of Chicken Run is insane because it's no longer The Great Escape. It has to become its own thing, and it is insane.
Yes, but it's still all up against the score of The Great Escape. It's still a pup up, pup up, pup up, pup, and it's
Yep.
like this goddamn robot dog that may or may not have taken over the minds of these two simple English farmers. Please drop this conceit,
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh man.
dude.
All they got to do
CJ,
is get to that special island where apparently nobody will come after them.
right? Wherever Moana's from, right? Because they got that dumb chicken that eats rocks.
Oh God.
It's a rooster.
Oh God. Man,
You know what this brings me to? This cycles me together, and it's going to get us back on track. I'm so happy that Zootopia won Best Animated Feature last year.
oh really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that was tangentially connected enough to get us back to the Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think that we were ever going to see anything like Early Man at the Oscars next year.
No, I don't
like
think that either.
I
I think Shaun the
yeah,
Sheep Farmageddon, possibly.
yeah,
Especially, we touched on it a little bit last week with our Oscar preview episode. I really Best Animated Feature for 2017 is the perfect example to shine the spotlight on of the quality of films in 2017.
yeah.
Because I mean, Ferdinand, I loved Ferdinand, right?
Hmm.
I backed it as a horse in the actual game,
Maybe you should have
and
backed it as a bull.
that's funny. That's very funny. But I liked the German stereotype horses that just sounded like they were voiced by Nick Kroll in that one episode of Community. Yeah, it was stereotypes. It was really bad. Let's break stereotypes by using stereotypes. Actually, that usually works. That's sort of how satire is. But then, why wasn't okay? First of all, Coco, congratulations. Nobody had it in our Oscar pool. I'm not surprised, but I feel like all of us are trying to make a statement by not picking it.
Well, right. We didn't actually talk about it, and maybe we should have, but I think we were all under the impression that, like, I mean, first of all, it's a Disney Pixar film that already puts it at the head of the pack, and then you add to that the fact that it was Disney and Pixar trying to do something very important with diversity in a year that's all about diversity. I mean, we'd be stupid to not see that that was really going to be the one to go. Obviously, I did not think Boss Baby was actually going to take the Oscar home. I just wanted it to.
And I wanted Ferdinand too. I did because I liked the message about Ferdinand better. Because it's one thing to do something about diversity and trying to appeal to that, but I think it's another thing when you're trying to sell a message on diversity and being yourself, that doesn't focus on one specific culture.
Yeah.
And that is what Ferdinand really did. Also,
Yeah.
that Trace reveal was fantastic. Like as a comedic moment. I want that movie. I honestly want that movie. But that it does that same sort of thing of that, like, be yourself. Don't let anyone tell you what you do or do not have to do in this world. But it's not Disney. Like, they're very similar stories. I don't know if you saw both of them.
I did not see both of them, no.
Yeah. Which one did you see? I'm guessing Coco.
I saw Coco, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people just didn't see Ferdinand. And,
Mhm.
like, even if you get past how great John Cena is, I'm fucking loving John Cena right now.
Oh yeah, he's at the top of his game right now in terms of breaking out of the wrestling mold. We'll see if he can maintain. Very few people have. Dwayne the Rock Johnson obviously being the highlight of that, but there have been plenty of these guys that have gotten to this point where they've gotten the family movie. But the R-rated comedy is new. I think.
Blockers. I'm so excited for
Yeah,
Blockers.
I'm excited for that. You know, the cameo appearance in the R-rated comedy is like for him in Trainwreck was not. I mean, sorry, Sisters was actually what I was thinking. I forgot about. He's the big one in Trainwreck too.
And Trainwreck.
Um,
And Daddy's Home too, where like he was just a cameo in Daddy's Home, but then because they were fleshing out the family dynamic, he's actually a pretty big part of the sequel.
yeah. Well, and I think that that's also leans on the fact that he can handle it, which is why his parts just kept getting bigger and better. And now here we are. We're looking at John Cena leading an R-rated comedy. I'm very excited myself for it.
Yes. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that we're both in the same place. Okay, so I feel like I've been pushing us away from the Oscars because it's confession time, guys. I didn't watch a single second of the Oscars last night.
Oh man, this is news to even me. Subject, what have you done to me? You're making me
So,
look bad in front of all of these people.
dilly dilly. Um, I'm so
My one
fucking mad
subject.
at myself. Um, you know what? I play a lot of Zelda, right? We talk about that. You know what? I'm going to go back to the actual beginning, where at
Why
one
does every story with you always start with, well, I play a lot of Zelda, so
because I do play a lot of Zelda.
you don't
Um,
say.
I do. It's. I've beaten 57 different seeds of the game this year so far, so I'm a little behind one a day, but I'm getting there.
Oh
But
God.
let's go back to the actual beginning, which is Friday at 1:52 p.m. We lost power at Decker Base 13,
Oh damn.
and I was
Anybody who doesn't know, Devon's right in the middle of all that
the
shitstorm.
nor'easter. Oh my gosh! I should
Nor'easter
post.
right now.
I took all these pictures of. Let's talk about. I work at Rhode Island College, right? I work in the Rhode Island College campus, and there's this big friggin' tree in front of Henry Barnard School, which is
Wait,
like
you work with the Seamans?
what?
You work for the Seamans, right?
What? What are you talking?
Your mascot's a
They're the anchor men.
big old seaman holding an anchor, right? Yeah.
I can't help but feel like you're lashing out at your brother, and we'll talk about him a little bit later in this episode. But yes, so I'm a seaman at Rhode Island College, but they have an elementary school on campus, Henry Barnard School, and in front of it is this big oak tree that literally got uprooted because
Oh
of the
man,
force of the wind.
that's crazy.
And then Fruit Hill Avenue, one of the ways into the school, had a tree fall down, and there's like this iconic car that is always parked underneath that tree that is 100% crushed by the tree that fell down, and the
It was
road was
inevitable.
down
The
to.
tree has just been looking at that car for days, just thinking, "This is it. This is the one, man. I'm coming for you."
It's
And it just,
happening.
yeah.
So we were without power because of that at my home for 44 hours. We didn't get it back until 10:52 a.m. on Sunday. And that'd be fine, right? Like, I read a lot. I read some Frankenstein. I did some comic book stuff. I cleaned because there was no distraction in the form of Zelda or anything else.
Suddenly,
But
society was better. Everything was wonderful. I could breathe again.
it was very nice. It actually felt a little odd coming up. There were no fights, right? Because we didn't have to fight about what we were going to watch on the
There
television.
was no war.
Yeah, it was a utopian society. It was a real revolution. Was that the name of that show? That was real weird.
Where they like all lost power and
But there was a
then
magic
suddenly, like,
scarab that Sawyer's girlfriend from the others on Lost.
are
I
you
know
mixing
her
that up
name.
with this Legends of the Seeker? What are we doing here?
No, God,
TV is
Legends of the
weird.
Seeker. What a terrible ugh. No, she had like a weird scarab that had the power to restore power to the world.
Oh, the MacGuffin. Yeah,
Yeah, it was just a
yeah.
basic MacGuffin, but it was like a scarab-shaped stone, and I'm like, what are you doing, Revolution? Like, wouldn't you? I would focus on the real world stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I got a pack of Duracell D cells.
A little less Legends of the Seeker, a little more Walking Dead. That's what I want for my apocalyptic
Please
horror.
stop bringing up Legends of the Seeker.
Oh, no, not at all. Now that I know that this is a thing I can bring up around you. No,
Craig Horner is amazing. I don't even give a shit. I will nerd out about Legends of the Seeker. Craig Horner showed up in the second season of H2O Just Add Water as Emma's boyfriend.
Jesus,
and it was
I
the
fucking love them
best.
mermaids.
And that was so good. Oh my god. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of Legends of the Seeker. Because
There you
that was
go.
a show that did not
Hmm?
adapt its source material well at all.
No. That was the least of its problems, but it was also like a problem. Yeah, no.
But because I didn't have power for 44 hours, I had a match scheduled in the tournament that I've been participating in that kept getting rescheduled. It was supposed to be 5 p.m. on Friday, and then we tried to do it, 5 p.m. on Saturday. And then I ended up having to go into the office and use their power and Wi-Fi and internet connection to compete at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Oh man, that's when you're in it, man. When you're driving to other places in order to compete in this stuff, you're in it.
Yes. But then in like all right, so we've talked about it on the show before. I just want to get this all out of there. Out there. Sejan and I try to play co-op, which is special because if I get an item, Sejan gets an item and vice versa. So that's one way that
Hmm.
people play co-op. That's like software co-op. But then there's also just information share co-op. And last week they opened up a tournament that is 2 versus 2 sharing information. And I've always wanted to compete in one of these, and it's the reason why I forced Sejan to play the game. I forced Dale to play the game. TJ, I made him play it like that. But then everybody's like, I'm not at the same level as you, and I understand that because
Yes, we are not driving a storm to work in order to play this game level as you. No, we're not
yeah,
there.
exactly. I was going to say that. Like, I was going to give you credit. It was I'm the idiot in this scenario. I get that. But I was lamenting the fact that I didn't have anyone else on my level and that I still wanted to join a team. And I found out just a random person online who had the same issue. And we got to talking. They also live on the East Coast. We are about the similar level in the game. And we decided that we, as complete and total strangers who have never interacted before, were going to give Zelda 2v2 a try.
Oh my God.
Um,
Did it happen?
oh,
Did we make a friend?
why are you going to be like that?
Hey,
Why are you
Zelda
going to
friend.
be... Has? Oh, I wish Will were here. You know what I want Will to do while he
Yeah.
listens to this episode? That thing in the in-betweeners. I'm talking UK in-betweeners. When they find about that Jay has a friend from soccer camp, and they're like, ooh, friend. Like making fun of him for having a friend. Best friend, soccer friend.
Ooh, soccer friend. Um,
Ooh, Zelda friend.
oh God. So you and your new best friend, you and
So,
your new best friend did what together?
well, the fact of the matter is we had hoped that we could use this weekend to get to know each other so that we could, play this game. But we didn't because I didn't have power. So there was no way that we could do it. And then Sunday morning, when I finally reconnect to like a grid and can see email messages and stuff, I see that we were selected to participate in an exhibition match Sunday evening that began at 8 o'clock. So not only do I not know this person, we are going to be put on display as representatives of what this tournament is supposed to be.
Ooh.
So I got home from my match. I grabbed lunch with Jeff, and we talked about the Oscars a little bit. And then I came home, and we sat down and started competing together so we could learn about each other's little Zelda eccentricities.
Nice.
And then we went into the match like immediately following us finishing up a seed together. And I'm happy to report that we won. Like, we won the match handily.
Nice, very
So
nice.
I am very excited about this. And this is the thing about this tournament is I have only ever exposed Sejan to like randomizer at its basis level where all of the items are swapped around. This tournament includes entrance randomizer, so the doors will lead somewhere else in the world than they usually do, and enemy randomizer, so you could like be in the first dungeon fighting the bad guys from the final dungeon.
Now, hold on a minute. When you say entrance randomizer, and don't worry, I heard monster randomizer. We're going to get to that. But when you say entrance randomizer, things will be different. Now, are they different every time, or like for this particular seed, this door always leads to this area?
Yeah, so there's different types of entrance randomizer specifically for this. I mean, it's always the same, but it can be a little different. Like every door in this is 1-to-1. So whenever you enter, say, the sanctuary, it'll take you into Eastern Palace.
And it will always take you into
And
Eastern
it will
Palace.
always take you there. But then there
Now,
are other ones where it's like a chain. So if you enter the sanctuary door and you're in Eastern Palace, but if you exit, that'll take you to a different location on
that
the
was
map.
going to be my next question.
Yeah, that's more of like a chaos shuffle. But then the chain is always the same. So eventually, however many down,
Eventually, you come back
you will
around.
come out at the sanctuary. So
Okay.
I mean, there's a
Okay.
logic to it, but it's something I've only really experimented with once or twice.
You realize that this is like a foreign language, right? Like you
I
are
do.
so deep into this that you are now talking about like you have learned like Zelda as a second language. That's what you've done.
Yes, right. And I used to make fun of the kids who spoke Klingon on the bus.
Yep. But now you are just fluent in ZSL. That's you.
We could have gone with Hylian, right?
Mm.
I like ZSL though, Zelda as a second language. I'll give you the
Yeah.
credit where the credit is due, Sejohn.
I appreciate that.
Well, you say that, right? One of the things that we had to do, and what ended up causing, like, really being our victory point, was there's the bumper cave. I don't know. You're not super familiar with Zelda, so there's a
No,
part.
but I know the damn bumper cave.
Okay, so you know the
All
bumper
right.
cave where you need to get the cape in order to pass through.
Yes.
All right. So in entrance randomizer, if you go in at the exit of the bumper cave, like on the other side of the bumper, and you have the hook shot, you can actually clip through the bumper and make progress.
Oh.
So that
Oh.
was like the big thing about the game that we played last night. And my partner, Chloe Prower, which I love it. I love that it is a Fox related thing because it's like Miles Prower from
Yes.
Sonic.
Very
I'll
nice.
explain everything. And our team name is actually Foxy Aspect because we wanted to focus on the Foxy aspect of the team with our name. Yeah,
Phenomenal.
it's great. While we were running co-op earlier in the day, they mentioned that, like, I'm pretty sure that with Hookshot you can get past that bumper and it'll open up another location. And it came down to it. Had nowhere else to go, and KP's like, yeah, I'm gonna try it, and that ended up being the move that we needed.
That's
Because on the
phenomenal.
other end of it was the hammer, which was the only item that was keeping us from progressing any further in the game.
Wow. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so that's like something I never knew before. It is now drilled into my head as trial by fire. And again, you know, the Zelda community, Sejohn and I had a little experience with it a couple of Saturdays ago that I'm not going to go too deep into because it was a bit negative. And so I'm not
It's a
trying to be negative when I say
uh-huh.
this, but we finished our seed that began at, it ended up going off around 9 o'clock. That's when it started.
Okay.
Once everybody got into place, we were done by 11:04 p.m. The opposing team in our exhibition match didn't finish until 2:01 a.m.
Oh God.
So yeah, I do speak ZSL, and that was like one of those first moments where I'm like, oh, okay, I have a weird skill now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been in these tournament matches, and it always seems like fairly matched, but yeah, that's just it.
So, can I ask you, like, does Link to the Past specifically, because that's what you're playing when you with all of these, does that world feel small to you now? Like, now that you know, like, every inch of it so intimately, like, does it feel like, I don't know, like, I remember going into that world, especially the first time you walk into it, and it was just breathtaking, like how much of that world there was, and thinking, oh my God, I have to traverse this entire map in order to get from to these 3 points, and then oh my God, there's another half of this game. Like everything about Link to the Past to me was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So in my head, like Hyrule in that game is just nuts, right? I imagine a lot of the ways that people think about Breath of the Wild right now, you know, like the way that they feel it's just never ending in some areas, but like you now know where the lines are. Like, does that world feel small, tiny?
It's really funny that you should ask that. I don't do a lot of YouTube, but one thing I do watch every Monday is Jim Sterling's Jimquisition. And he wanted to do a positive episode this week while we're releasing this episode, and he talked about the Yakuza games and how this is the world map of this open world, but even though it's very small, it's so compact that it doesn't feel small.
Okay.
And as I watched this video, I thought exactly about what you just asked regarding Link to the Past, and how as a kid, yes, it did feel unsurmountable. You know, to like, oh, I have to climb Death Mountain.
Hmm.
and all of the things that you end up having to do in that game. And yes, it doesn't feel as insurmountable as when I was 9 years old playing it for the first time, but at the same time, looking at, I'm going to say Ocarina of Time, for as great a game as everybody looks at it, there's a lot of empty fucking space in the world.
Oh yeah, I mean it's that time. It was that time in video games where like they were like we can make the world bigger, and it wasn't until like 5 years later when everybody was like, okay, but what are you going to do with that? Like, what are you going to put in it? You know, it's not until you really get to like the later uh, hot tub time machines. There, what are they? Grand Theft Autos. That's what I'm thinking of.
Hot tub
When
time
you
machines.
when you get to those later Grand Theft Autos, when they're just like, yeah, we're going to actually populate the world with things to do on top of all of this, like it's great that we can go big, but what's the point of big if it's boring, right? And you're totally right. Like there's tons of stretches of Ocarina of Time that are just traveling. You know, is there even fast travel in Ocarina original, like
You have the
vanilla Ocarina?
ocarina. There are like the songs that you play that take you to each of the temples.
Yeah, so I guess there's a form of fast travel. So maybe that's also part of it is that like they're kind of still starting to like wrap their head around that concept. So they're not filling the world because in their minds, once you can do that, why would you not, right?
Exactly. You're not
But I love
wrong.
a game. I love a game that gives me a reason not to. I'll be honest.
Well, I mean, also look at the other side of the coin that is Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. That world, compared to Ocarina, is relatively small, and there's something to do everywhere
Right.
because of the nature of the 3-day cycle that the game lives in. So, but looking at Link to the Past, no, it doesn't. It doesn't feel small. It feels deliberate in a lot of ways,
Okay.
especially experimenting at so much as I did with Entrance Randomizer yesterday. It's like everything in this game has a purpose. And that's something that, like you said, when they're like, we can make games giant, it got a little muddied what the purpose was of everything in the game. Like, part of
Yeah.
the purpose was to show, look how big this world is. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but it doesn't need to be this big. We're just,
Yeah, I think that like Link to the Past is really playing like vanilla Link to the Past, like just laid out in a weird way. The world you could almost lay the world out as like a 2D like side scroller type world. You know what I mean? Like, and they just kind of folded it all in on itself to create this map so that you never actually leave the same place, but you know, you unlock this, you gain this ability, whatever it is that you do, Zelda style, and so that you can get into this world. It's so interesting. Like, I never really thought about it, but the world never gets any bigger. You can see the map from square one. The second you pull that map up, you can see everything. It's just a matter of you trying to figure out how to get to places. And I guess that's what Zelda's always kind of done, right? So at some point, like this huge world does start to feel smaller in a way because it's becomes so much more familiar. Because at first it's just not at all. It's so weird and diverse. I mean, you've got spooky forest, you got your ice kingdom, you got your right, you got your underwater areas, you got
exactly. But it's also, it's an interesting mirror to the real world. Because when you move into somewhere new, everything is strange and different, and everything seems so large and insurmountable. I mean, I think about this with Rhode Island literally all the time. When
hmm
we first moved to Rhode Island from Massachusetts, we were convinced we are going to collect bottles, every single bottle of soda we drank, and at the time, we were like, Coca-Cola was considering putting us on the delivery route because it would just be easier and they would get all of the profit, not just some of it. And the idea behind that was because we can go to Seekonk and we can trade it in and we can make the money from these, right? And we're
yeah,
not
yeah,
paying
yeah.
the $5 deposit, the 5 cent deposit. But we never did it because Seekonk felt so far away
hmm
from our house when we first moved to Coventry. Now, my mother works on the East Providence Seekonk line, right near Rumford Pets. I am in Seekonk at least once a week hanging out with Jeff because there's nothing to do in East Providence. I'm sorry to your town. But you're in East Providence to get to Seekonk or to get to North Attleboro. That's pretty
If
much it.
I Oh no, East
Oh
Providence
wait,
is a
there's
world
that
unto
Greg's that
itself.
we went to that one time. That was a
But there's
pretty great night.
the thing is that East Providence, the East Providence that you know and love, cannot be recorded, cannot be talked about on this medium. It is unfortunate. It is a mystical place that just we will never be able to convey to those who don't go there because it is impossible to capture in any way.
That's true.
Um,
But think about that, right? Think about that in terms of like a video game where like if you've never played it, you can't truly experience that world. That's what East Providence is. And your East Providence, and to a lesser extent, my East Providence, come on, there are like bridges that go nowhere, and then somehow you're on the other side of it. It's like a Pac-Man board.
I know, man. Well, it's really weird how you have to learn how to traverse the tubes. That's really the trick. That's if you want to get around East Providence, you got to know your way through the pipe system of East Providence. We'll do it one day.
Yes, but that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So it's that thing where like things become more familiar as you spend time with them. And
Right.
now a trip to Seekonk is not like such a Oh my God, I don't want to go to Seekonk. It takes so long. But then the other reason is that like people who live in Rhode Island, there's that stigma about them. First of all, it's not in New York, right? Second of all,
Rhode Island is not Long Island. Get that out of the way.
there's that stigma where like I'm driving half an hour, I should pack a lunch. And,
Yes.
and that is something that like it's strange because you never really shake that in the state of Rhode Island. But also I drive a lot, like for fun and for business.
And for profit.
And for profit, yes. So yeah, I delivered flowers for a year, and that made Rhode Island smaller than ever before to me. Like,
yeah, man, it's something that I talk about with people out in Ohio all the time is that they don't understand. Like you come from Rhode Island, 15 minutes is the most that you're willing to drive today. Like you wake up and you're just like, oh, that's 40 minutes away. That's not going to happen today. Maybe tomorrow. Like in Ohio, if you made that decision, you wouldn't survive. You wouldn't eat. You wouldn't be able to get anywhere. Like if I woke up today and thought, I don't know if I really want to drive for an hour, I wouldn't make it to work. I wouldn't make it to the grocery store. I wouldn't make it, and I don't even want to get into those people that live out in those places like Silver City, New Mexico, where they're like 4 hours away from anything. What are those idiots doing? Hey, Zach. But no, like it's definitely something that I think about on a regular basis too. But what I'm thinking about is how crazy it used to be that I used to feel that way, and now I like if I get in the car for less than 30 minutes, I get antsy. I gotta like go sit back in the car for a minute and just blast the heater or something. It's weird.
I don't love to take credit for things with you, but I'm gonna take a little bit of credit for like opening up your world a bit. Because I think of all those nights when we were on the campus of URI, which is literally in the Silver Springs of Rhode Island. And it would be like, hey, let's just go to Lincoln because. Hey, let's just go to North Attleboro because. There's this little Mexican place in the town I grew up in. Do you want to go? Hey,
yes.
Let's go see
Borders.
that girl who was obsessed with Bette Midler's house.
Oh man, we drove to fucking New Jersey just to go say hi to somebody that
I gotta
left
tell
school.
I gotta tell you, there's your teaser trailer because Devon and Sejohn Go should totally just be a very special episode where we talk about that whole experience.
That is, that could be a series unto itself, like Serial style, where we try and figure out what the hell happened. Like
that
where did it all go wrong?
And also, like, big thank you to Kevin as, like, another, like, little trailer part for agreeing to be our cameraman.
On a project that went nowhere. And he fucking held that camera. Even when that woman came and yelled at us at that Chinese restaurant, he held that camera that entire time.
This is a great trailer that we have just given you for the epic that is Devon and Sejohn Go, coming soon to the Say Report.
Yeah, I like that.
But
promises,
yes,
promises.
so because of all that Zelda that I ended up having to shove into my Sunday, the Oscars fell by the wayside.
Man, yeah, that's where this whole thing started.
Yeah, right.
But just like every Aardman project, you're just gonna keep missing the Oscars. That's fine. I don't know. How did we tie that together?
Good. That was pretty good. You know what? And it's weird though, because at the same time, like other years, I probably would have been like, no, I'm going to watch the Oscars. I'm very excited about the Oscars. And again, like this is going to be the last time I say it, especially because 2017, in terms of cinematic media, now is the time to put it aside and focus on 2018. But it really was just not a year that I was passionate about.
Well, I'm going to say two things. First of all, you're okay not seeing it, I guess, was the first thought I have. Like, I don't want to, with my next couple of statements, I don't want you to feel like I'm ragging on you for not watching it last night. Like, I'm not surprised you didn't watch it. I'm sure you're not the only one that didn't watch it. I didn't plan on watching it. Totally watched it by accident. Like, I get it.
What, you
That being
trip and
said,
fall into her? I don't.
no, I was like, oh, I should watch the opening monologue and get like and see, just what the shtick is this year, so that when we inevitably do the show tomorrow night, I'm not a complete asshole, right? Like I wanted to make sure that there was something of it that I had seen or at least knew about. So we put it on, and I ended up just watching the whole thing because like it was actually super watchable, which is not great praise, but I'll tell you, for an Oscar ceremony, it is probably the highest praise I could give it.
Well, let me tell you, the fact that when I was done at 11 o'clock, I went upstairs and the Oscars was already over,
hmm
that blew my mind.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Kimmel and whoever else was behind it, but I do think Kimmel was a pretty driving force behind this idea. They kept it moving. Cutaways rather than people walking on and off. You didn't have to wait for somebody to get off stage for Jimmy Kimmel to then come on and do the next bit. He was already waiting by a camera to do it. That sort of stuff. Also, moving jokes along. He did not linger on a single joke or wait for a laugh at any moment, which totally comes from his pedigree. His Tonight Show stuff. He knows how to move forward with his stuff. I think a lot of times with the Oscars, people revel, and he did not allow that, in any capacity. And he straight up, I mean, I'm sure you've heard by now about the jet ski, but he straight up has an opening sketch, which ends up not kind of being a sketch, but actually true, where he's offering a jet ski to whoever gives the shortest speech of the night. And he's literally like, I'm timing you. He pulls out a little yellow timer, and that's the joke they keep going back to the whole night, where he's just like, yep, so far in the lead is this guy, so far in the lead is that guy. And sure enough, at the very end, it was some costume designer, I think, they threw on the back of that jet ski, and they brought him out on stage, and they were like, congratulations, you won the jet ski because you didn't waste anybody's time. It was pretty awesome.
That's
Um,
that is a pretty cool running joke. I'm not going to lie.
right, right. So like, and it was a lot of that sort of stuff where like super self-aware, a lot of self-aware jokes, especially about everything that happened last year. A lot of really good moments of acknowledging a lot of the problems going on right now, like everything with the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Like for a show that was notoriously bad at addressing its issues over the last few years, this went and they swung real hard in the other direction, and it was all about addressing their issues. And that's cool. Like I don't mean to make that sound like I was like upset by that or anything. It just it's still the Oscars, man. Like it's just what you think it is at the end of the day. It's just still everybody there just loving each other real hard. Honestly, the best part of the night is apparently one of the more controversial parts of the night for everybody. Not in the sense that it pissed anybody off, but it just seemed like stupid to a lot of people, but I loved it. Was Jimmy Kimmel getting a group of whoever wanted to. He literally said, whoever here wants to come with me, we're going to leave this theater and we're going to go next door, where they're watching a preview showing of Wrinkle in Time. And we're going to interrupt their showing, which was the part that I think more people were upset about than anything.
I'm
But he was
upset
like,
about that. I heard about this morning, and I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
would be
yeah.
mad about that. And
But
my
he's
mother's
like, we're
like,
going to interrupt
Gal
their
Gadot
showing.
just walked into the room. You're gonna be mad? I'm like, you
Yeah.
threw off the pace of Wrinkle in Time. Now I gotta see it again.
And then like they
Sorry.
they interact with all these people, but the reason that it worked so well was that his whole moment about it, his whole framing device for it was like, these are the people that like support us and love us, and the reason that we are here tonight is these audiences out there, and we never seem to remember that on Oscar nights, so I'm going to shove it down your throat right now. And like we spent 10 minutes with all of these people, Armie Hammer, Gal Gadot, Jimmy Kimmel, like just all just mingling with the audience of this movie, that these people were, you're right, probably pissed at first that the movie was like randomly stopping, but the second that they see all of these people, Emily Blunt I think was in the group too, like at some point you start to realize, no, this is okay.
This is a pretty cool thing that's happening to me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think part of my anger that you just witnessed is also a little bit jealousy, because the most I get is a really weird, like, I don't know, how often do you go to the actual movie theater to see movies?
Pretty often.
All right.
I would say at least once a month, if not more.
Okay, so have you seen any of the thanks for coming out to see the movie in theaters?
Yes. Yeah.
And that is just like, I feel like they don't want to be there. I certainly don't want them there, because I'm like, I'd like to watch the movie. You know where this would be good? Put this at the end of the credits.
Yeah, right.
Because
like, thank
then,
you
like,
for supporting this, guys. That really,
then it would really feel like, and not that I mean, I stay for the credits regardless, right? But a little thank you after the fact would feel like more to me and would mean more to me than the thank you beforehand.
Well, you know what it would be? It would feel a little bit more personal because you know that they're only talking to the people that care to stay to the very end. You know what I mean? And like you're one of those people, and they know that you're one of those people, and it feels like they know you, you know, like in a way. Whereas at the front, it just feels like it's another Coke commercial. That's all it feels like.
And not only that, there are those jackasses, and I mean that. If you're the person that I'm about to describe, you are a jackass who come in late to movies.
Hmm.
And like so they don't get the thank you, right? And that's good that they don't get the thank you, but also they're jackasses.
Yeah, I once went into a an animated movie, and like 20 minutes into it, a family came in, and there's that part of you that's like, oh, it's an animated movie and they're kids, and obviously like getting out is hard to do. But there's also that part of you that's just like, who is this for now? At what point is this fun for anybody involved? Like as a kid, you don't you're not interested in this movie that was playing already when you walked in the room. As a parent, you're now sitting in a dark room, just like seething that you got there late. Probably whatever led to you getting there late probably is just pissing you off. Like it's not a fun night for you at this point, and it's surely not fun for me because you have to get settled, and we all know that takes everybody 20 minutes, right? Like. So it was just one of those weird moments of realization where I was just like, no, there is no real excuse for this. Like when at first I was willing to give you one, but I've thought about it and no excuse.
Let's talk about the best example of that from our life, and it features Jeff from last week. Which again, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was really
Yeah,
great
man.
having you. We went to go see Barbershop The Next Cut. It was a Sunday night showing. It was like a relatively late showing of Barbershop The Next Cut. And we were
Is that the third barbershop
that's the
movie?
third one, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we were the only people in there, right? Which is one of those things where you're like, you never want to talk about it. Being the only people in a movie theater, it's like throwing a perfect game in baseball.
Right.
You
don't
can't
want to jinx
talk
it, man.
about it while it's happening, because the second you mention, oh, nobody's here, then like everybody suddenly showed up to see the movie that like, why would any of these people want to see this film?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Not only do people show up, but the worst people show up.
Yes, exactly that. So we're sitting there and we're alone, and the movie starts, and it's Barbershop. So I don't know if you saw the third one. The third one was
I
actually really, really good.
I have to
liked
say,
it.
I was so disappointed in Barbershop 2 that I did not bother with the next cut.
Yeah, they make up for Barbershop too.
Okay.
I will say that, and I
My
highly
Barbershop
recommend it.
3 was for Sunday.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Beauty Salon featuring Queen
No.
Latifah's character from Barbershop 2.
No. Oh God.
Actually, that
No,
movie was
man.
pretty good too, and you got Alicia
First-
Silverstone in there. But
Yeah.
so we're in there and we're enjoying it, and because it's one of those like more lackadaisical movies that has like a deliberate pace, but it's real fun and sort of laid back. We're talking during the movie, kind of like laughing about stuff that's been said, and then no word of a lie, 51 minutes into Barbershop The Next Cut, a family of 8 walk into the theater.
What? How long is that movie? Isn't it only like 90 minutes long?
Yeah, it might be like 106.
Oh man.
Like, and like this whole family comes strangling in. So then
And
we're
you
like,
know, not that I feel like there's like a deep mythos to the barbershop world, but like you miss the story, guys. Like as much as it's not really about the story all in all, context is key when it comes to those kinds of comedies, and like you've missed it all.
well, let's talk about the fact that one of the big things in Barbershop 3 is the fact that the neighborhood is going downhill.
Okay.
And which is sort of the theme of that entire trilogy, is them trying to be this beacon for the community as everything falls down around them.
Right.
And it erupts in, spoilers for Barbershop 3, it erupts in a war between gangs, and a character is killed. And that character, the second he came on screen, Jeff said, so he's going to die.
Oh, okay. This is the red shirt for this movie. This is the cannon fodder,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
This is, I can't think of his name, the guy who lives across the street from the Boondocks, who's the district attorney.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly who this character is. And so he's like, so he's going to die. And I'm like, Jeff, be quiet. And he's like, what? And I'm like, you're right. You're not wrong. So it happens, right? And they reveal that he gets killed. And it's a big emotional moment, right? Because
Right.
he is clearly not involved in any of this. He
Right.
just got a job. And
Wrong
you
place,
get
wrong
like
time,
little
right? Like
soup
that's
songs of his day until you ultimately hear that he died. And that happens. And one of these people just says super loud, who the hell is that? Of course, who the hell is that? You came in 50 minutes into a movie.
oh God. Oh, that's upsetting. That's just upsetting. Like I would go and ask for my money back at that point. Like I don't like to blame the theater for audiences misbehaving. Like if a kid is being rowdy in a movie theater, I won't blame the movie theater. I'll blame bad parenting. But that is the very specific instance where I will go and ask them for their money back because there should be a cutoff. If somebody says, no, that movie started a half an hour ago, I'm sorry, we can't let you in. Like that should totally be the thing.
You know what? Not
Like
only should there be a cutoff, I mean, one of the reasons why I'm sure movie theaters argue is that, like, but then we'd be losing money, right? That person wanted to buy a ticket. It's not like it's one show anymore. It's not like you have one theater, and yes, turning away a person 20 minutes into a movie, you're losing money. It is 100%. There's something else that they can see, and especially
point
at
them towards
Providence
something
Place
else.
Mall, where there's 16 screens and there's stuff to do in the mall.
I was gonna say, and there's a Dave and Buster's across the hall. There's a whole other IMAX theater there that they could go check out instead. There's a food court. Oh my God, yeah, no, that would annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah, and that has
To the point of
become
words.
the gold standard of, well, it's not as bad as Barbershop 3. This person coming in and
Oh man.
so I mean that's
So,
sorry. I'm sorry if I
movies, man. No, like I just the Oscars last night was an interesting thing, and I'm glad that I watched it. After all, is really kind of all I wanted to say. Is like I totally get why you didn't, and it's not even like I feel like you missed like history making anything. It was what it was. But I don't know, man. One of the best things about the Oscars is just the talk around it before and after, and the conversations that get had. And I'm super excited about this Oscars that just happened, actually, because after the fact, looking back on now all of the conversations that are happening, I I forgot how good 2017 actually was movie wise. You know, like it is forgettable. I think is the problem. A lot of what we talked about, I think, is the idea that it was kind of just a forgettable year for movies. But being reminded of the movies that did come out, I now actually feel like it was a pretty decent year for movies. Just not good enough, you know? That was just kind of, I think, the problem with everything this year is it just wasn't quite good enough. Because like we talked about this, after we recorded last week, we failed to mention that nowhere in sight is Wonder Woman, right?
well, apparently she's watching Wrinkle in Time next door.
Damn. But you know what's really interesting about that, about the Wonder Woman stuff and Black Panther to a point? I know that it would technically not be for this year, but I think they got talked about more than any other two movies throughout the entire broadcast. I think they talked more about Black Panther than you and I did, and we did a fucking 50-minute special on it.
That's very true.
Like they kept bringing up these movies that and to Kimmel's credit, like there were always jokes about the idea that, hey, these are the movies that don't get recognized despite the fact that everybody in the world is loving them. What's up with that, right? They're making money hand over fist. I think at one moment he comes on stage and he looks at his watch and he goes, just to let everybody know, Black Panther just pulled in another 40 million, just to keep everybody up to speed. And like that was the whole bit. It was like but like they wanted to talk about these movies that don't actually get talked about in a way that no other Oscars has ever really kind of focused on before. They did a lot of montages about how awesome movies are because that's what they do. It's the Oscars. But more often than not, there were definitely moments where you were like, I don't think this is an Oscar movie. I think they're just like celebrating this really awesome movie that's on here. I'm sure every single one of the ones that they showed were related to the Oscars in some ways, but I think that they focused a lot on things like technical stuff that you don't really remember being Oscar movies, you know, like nominees and stuff like that.
Oh, you mean the ones that I actually got correct? Because I did a pretty good job on like makeup and costume and all of that, except for my Kong Skull Island debacle.
Yeah. Debacle. Wasn't that bad. I wouldn't call it a debacle.
No, but I like the
Misstep.
word debacle. Yeah, the misstep. All right, so here's how I'm gonna shut conversation about the Oscars.
Okay.
Of the last four Best Picture winners, not including The Shape of Water, because that would obviously be your choice, which one do you think was the best film? And they are 12 Years a Slave. I had this, and Dallas Buyers Club, Spotlight, and Moonlight.
I would probably go Spotlight all the way for me. I mean, like at this point, you're asking me what my favorite was out of those because I think they're all fantastic movies, and the only like I think they're all on par when it comes to things like acting and writing and all that sort of stuff. But I think that in terms of just at this point, like subject matter and like what I would go back to and rewatchability, I guess would be the best way to put it, is definitely Spotlight. I mean, like it's just got everything that I love, political intrigue and all that sort of stuff, but also on top of that, like a fantastic ensemble of people just doing good things. Like it's just a real, like it's a real good one.
It was a movie that when it won Best
yeah.
Picture, despite not winning anything else for the year, I'm like, yeah, because it is the Best Picture. But the reason is because everything works in sync with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
also,
it's firing on all cylinders.
I screwed up. Birdman was supposed to be in Dallas Buyers Club spot.
Oh.
Does that change your answer?
It, mm, no. What do I think? What do I think is the best one is still Spotlight. What do I think is my favorite is now Birdman. But no.
Well, my answer was 12 Years a Slave. Because something
right.
about that movie connected with me. I have, and this is proven, I can find people who will support this, been at like house parties and 12 Years a Slave would be on, and I would put it on HBO as like the background movie for the house
That's
party.
not a party, bro. That's not a party movie at all. I don't know how to tell you this.
But so here's the thing, right? It's my new preview channel. Because I don't know if you remember in college, whenever I'd be at a party, I'd find a TV and I would put on the TV Guide channel.
Yes.
And I would just leave that on.
We've discussed this before.
We've discussed it before, right? My new TV Guide channel, since it doesn't exist anymore, is putting on 12 Years a Slave. Because, and then the game that I play is, how long before someone says something?
Oh my God. It's the most uncomfortable thing in the world to like be at a party and like realize that there's something on television that's kind of upsetting and like you don't want to like it's so weird. It's such a weird situation to put people in, Devin. Why do you do that?
Because you know what the other thing is? While that game is getting played, while I am seeing how long people take to notice it, I get to watch 12 Years a Slave. And like yes, that movie is that's a very raw movie.
Yeah, raw, yes.
Yeah, raw's it's not Eddie Murphy Raw, which is the rawest movie of all time. But
it's only because he's running around in that leather under those lights, though. That's why he's raw.
He had no talcum powder, according to IMDb trivia. After we finish recording, and I add it. But just the performances. I mean, Alfre Woodard in 12 Years a Slave is one of my favorite, just like characters in that type of film ever. Because her being like, I've embraced this lifestyle. It's not good, but it's pretty good for me. And like you think about like that's where we got Lupita Nyong'o, who is like huge now. Chiwetel Ejiofor, like everything is working in that film, and that was the like poll yesterday to celebrate the Oscars. And believe it or not, of those movies, the people who were voting, 46% of them chose 12 Years a Slave, and I was surprised because like you, I felt like. That's a crazy thing, Devin. That's a crazy thing that you like that movie. It's crazy that you put it on parties. That's an uncomfortable film. But, like, more than 50% of the people who voted in that, almost 50%, agreed that it was the best of the last, like, Best Picture winners.
Oh, and, like, I made sure to, front load my answer there by saying that, like, all of those movies are just, like you're talking about fantastically made films. I think that we've hit a really good streak here where there hasn't been a Best Picture winner that I felt was just kind of like a gimme. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's been a good fight every year, and everyone that's won it has deservedly won that fight. Last year would have been that weird moment where everybody would have been like, La La Land, though. And then suddenly it got taken away. It was the greatest, like, turnaround in the last minute.
Yeah, it really was. That was the Patriots having Butler make that interception in Super Bowl 49. Like, it really was that moment. You're not wrong. All right. So now a little bit of sadness before a little bit more happiness. Over the weekend, the world lost David Ogden Stier, best known as Winchester, Charles Emerson Winchester III on MASH, but best known probably to this podcast from his role as Cogsworth and the narrator in Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss him. There a lot of people, like a lot of famous people, have passed away in the last 3 years. I'm going to say, especially 2016,
A lot of people.
where
Yeah.
you know, they really needed some good actors for their softball team down in the underworld, so they just picked and chose. We want to get into making movies, said Hades.
They were like, yeah, this Weinstein guy can do whatever he wants. We want to try.
God, wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy if, like, going forward we find out that, like, the underworld is making movies?
Yeah.
There's a good script in there. There's a pretty good script in there.
I think it's Monkey Bone too.
Oh God, Brendan Fraser, we want to bring you back into the forefront, buddy. Now that you're already doing that, Chris Kattan. Love it, absolutely love it. But related to all of our talk of movies, and I wanted to spend more time on this, but this means that we get to talk about it next week, when I'll even be more studied, Sejohn, as opposed to a brief text conversation in the morning. He was featured in the first season of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, when it was still called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. And he played a character named Mr. Bauer. And Mr. Bauer had a interesting quirk in that he would tell stories of his life that were the plots of famous movies. And it's just like, he has completely gone off the deep end, and he believes these are things that really happened to him. And my way to honor David Ogden Stiers, after I did the narration from Beauty and the Beast, and we talked about, like, one of the best Winchester episodes, was to watch that first season of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, because unfortunately that type of character is not sustainable. Like, after you've made that joke a couple of times, it gets stale. There's nowhere else that you can really go with it. And actually, as I've watched the first season, they even sort of abandoned it by the 10th episode, where he, like, got the classic sports channel and thinks that he was a Green Bay Packer under Lambeau.
Oh man.
And then the 11th episode, which is an origin episode of it, afterwards he's like, "Did I ever tell you how I met my friends?" and starts to recount the episode as if it happened to him.
Oh God.
So you have this giant of acting, right? Because that's what Stiers was. Committing to this completely ridiculous thing where he's telling the final scene from Jaws. He shows up once while the cops are about to arrest the guy and does his best Obi-Wan. Like, these are not the gentlemen you're looking for. And it works. And it's just this great thing. And I have really gotten to enjoy watching him, not as one of his more iconic roles, but as a role that he clearly was having an amazing time playing.
Yeah.
Like, there's such glee in his character. And I'm going to buy the DVD set of Two Guys and a Girl, as it was after the first season.
Once they lost the pizza place.
Well, the pizza place is still there. They're just like,
right.
People are only talking about the name of our show. We'd like them to talk about our show.
Right.
And I'm going to watch more of it, and we can come back and talk about it at a greater time. But it's been an interesting way to celebrate what was a glorious life of a fantastic actor.
Cool. Good stuff, man. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, like, go back. For me, it's always hard to go back once I hear about somebody passing like that to even dive into their stuff so quickly. But man, it's got to be cathartic, right?
I mean, because you see him, and he's clearly having such a great time. And also, let's talk about the fact that he was pretty much Morgan Freeman before freaking March of the Penguins happened. You look at his IMDb, he was like the narrator of everything in the friggin' 90s.
Yeah.
All right.
The torch was passed. I wonder who it'll be next.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually had an idea, but I'm probably wrong, so I've forgotten. But now, onto something a little bit happier, and that is, Sejohn, are you aware that our experiment last month as a very special episode has blossomed and grown into its own thing?
What? No, we're not doing anything new. What are you talking
No,
about?
we're not doing anything new. But
I'm so
my
confused
younger
then.
sister and your little brother, which was my favorite distinction of our siblings when we talked about it, have decided that they want to make Say Report Junior a regular thing.
Oh,
Um,
well, look at that. Look at
oh,
them growing up.
they're going to be using their own logo. They
Oh,
found yours a bit offensive. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. Don't know why. Don't know
Uh,
why they didn't like our box art that we gave them. I worked so hard on, but okay. It featured a Spider-Man robot. Okay, never
it
mind.
did.
Fine, guys. Do your own thing.
I think they want to do their own thing. I think they want to come out from under our shadow by
Mm,
completely emulating what our show is and putting a junior at the end.
yeah,
No,
just remember, we brought you into this world. We could take you out.
yes, that's exactly what we did. I was on a subway train when my mother went into labor. Oh, you were being facetious. It was just like that episode of The Odd Couple. But as far as I know, they're going to be recording an episode tomorrow night to be posted on Wednesday. And they think that to start off, they're going to try a bi-weekly schedule,
Mm.
which makes sense.
Because, yeah, right, because they're lazy.
And they haven't known each other for 12 years. they they don't have an entire reservoir of memories to dip a ladle into and talk
Fair
about
enough.
for an hour. But then they hope to go, more frequently to get to that weekly, assuming they can keep to the schedule of bi-weekly. So if you like the Say Report, you get to listen to our younger brother and sister. They're going to do their own show, and it will be releasing every other Wednesday, beginning this Wednesday, March 7th.
And do me a favor, don't jump on Twitter and tell me that their show is better. I know. You don't need to tell me.
Dude, they know it's better.
Yeah, I
Their
know.
tagline is younger, better, sexier. And I can't disagree with any of that.
Oh God.
But that is going to be a completely different RSS feed. So make sure you search for Say Report Junior and that you give them a subscribe as well. They're going to be on Twitter and everything. They're going to tell you all of this, but I just want to make sure that I am giving them all of the support that we can from the Say Report main base.
For sure. Much love, guys. Like, good luck because this is one of the greatest things that I have ever been a part of, and I'm super happy to let other people in on that experience.
Can I just tell you the best part about it? They did it all on their own. Like, and I don't want to be like, it's not like, I mean, like, we kind of pushed them together to do that very special episode, but then they enjoyed it so much that they're the reason that this family of shows is growing so organically. And that just, that warms my heart.
Well,
in a
and it's
way.
important. It had to be something that the two of them wanted to do like that. And we'll gush about this again because I'm sure that as silly things come up between the shows, we will not forget them. We will not forget the Flash exists in this Arrowverse.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. I 100% want to do a Thanksgiving episode.
Family dinner.
It's all about
I love
family.
It. Yeah.
All right, but until then, I have been Devon Decker. If you want to yell at me about not watching the Oscars, I can be reached at Devon D. Decker on Twitter.
And if you want to praise your new king, you can reach me at Siege versus the World.
I thought you were going to have more. I thought it was going to be more of a stately proclamation.
Oh,
I
I'm
guess
sorry.
not.
Did you want to? Do I have to tell you to bow to me, nerds?
No, I will bow to you, nerd. Will, bow to your new king. Bow down to him.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.